YouTube, back. Another tier list for you guys. Starting pitchers, I feel like that might be one of the ones that I get asked about the most. Who should I use? Who's better than this? Who's that? Who's this? I think it's just tough. I feel like obviously a lot of it's probably not as subjective as hitters. People sometimes can really rake with a guy despite them not being maybe the greatest, but pitchers, it's a little bit stricter with the meta, right? So some guys just can't really get it done no matter how good you are with them. You can spot every pitch, you can mix it up as well as you can, but if they don't got it, they don't got it. But that's what I'm here for, man. I'm here to help you guys out and just kind of show you guys the ropes. First of all, let me just break this in here. Boom Boom Naturals. I see a lot of people ask me what I'm sniffing in videos. This is Boom Boom Natural Winter Mint flavor. Exclamation point sniff in my Twitch chat, or I will link it below. Click on that, buy it through that link. It'll help me out. I like these. It's just all natural stuff, guys. Natural mint oils and menthol. It gives you a little bit of a kick, but not nearly as much as smelling salts, as example. It's kind of similar, but not nearly as strong. It's not bad for you at all. It's just natural oils. Anyway, that aside, let's get into it, guys. Like this video if you like tier lists from me, and just in general, man. I enjoy tier list videos, so let's get into it. I got a bunch of pitchers. I got a bunch of these dudes out the way already that you shouldn't even consider at all, really. So don't worry too much about them. Guys that you don't even have to worry about. They're not even a factor. Shout out to Scan, by the way. SCANN. Links in the description for him, man. He made all these tier lists. He added these cards. He's a legend. All right, Merrill Kelly. I believe he's an 87. I actually find him to be a C pitcher. He has got a sinker. I believe he has a sinker cutter, man. I'm not entirely sure, but he does have a primary sinker. Decent numbers. He's not the worst, he's not the best. I'll give him a C tier. Like, if you had to use him, he might get you like 4 solid innings, but not great, not bad, but definitely not D tier. D tier is bad out of relevant pitchers. F is just guys who like really aren't relevant at all. So next up, Jack Leiter. I'm gonna go same thing, C tier. Decent pitch mix, but lacks a lot of control, so I'll put him there. Syndergaard, outlier sinker, but hits per 9 is laughably bad, but he's tough to hit because he's huge, throws really hard, funky release, and he can hit a little bit too. Give him a little C tier because he's fun to use. Johnny Cueto. I'm gonna give Johnny Cueto a C tier, but it's close. He's like top of the C tier because he's funky and he's got a fun pitch mix. I don't mind this Johnny Cueto at all. I think he's pretty fun to use. A good overall Johnny Cueto with this funky release. Sinker cutter will be very solid. Look out for that card. Randy, Diet Randy's a D. Very readable. I believe he doesn't have a 2-seamer on this card. Maybe he does. No, I think this card is actually the same pitches, except instead of a splitter, he has a changeup and does not have outlier, I believe, and hits per 9's a lot lower. So, I mean, when the game came out, he was a lot better. Probably a B tier pitcher, but now he's D. It's just been too long. Pablo Lopez, B tier pitcher, but barely. He's got a good hits per 9, really low K per 9, and should be good on paper with what he has on his pitch mix and hits per 9, but he just gets lit. I think he's very readable, but I think he could get you as a free pitcher. Give him, he's a B tier for the value and for what he can give you for a few innings here and there. So I'll give him B tier, but barely, very close. B for barely. Shohei Ohtani, I mean, cover athlete Ohtani. I'll give him a C tier. Doesn't have the numbers, but has decent pitch mix and rake, so he's fun for that two-way aspect. We know how we feel about two ways. He's not exactly two-way. Nolan Ryan, D tier. C tier, because if you can't hit fast pitching, some guys can't hit fast pitching, he'll be there, but, you know, doesn't have the pitches, doesn't have the hits per 9, has no control, so he'll be there. One of the first event rewards. He was an event reward when the game was still in pre-release. So Herman Marquez, B tier pitcher. I'm really thinking guys are sleeping on him. He's got a sinker, got a good pitch mix, lacks a few stuff here and there in the attribute categories, but has a good hits per 9 and he rakes. So definitely a card you should check out. He's free, very good value. I'm very high on that card for what the value is. Bob Gibson, C tier, just not particularly great. Bob Gibson gets raked. I really hope that he gets a 99 card with outlier. If Walter Johnson can get double outlier, Bob Gibson can get outlier. That's all I'm gonna say. And I hope his par and his slider shrinks. He's got 99 control and break every year, but it's gigantic par. I don't know why. Cole Hamels gets B tier. Funky release, good pitches, lacks a little bit on the hits per 9 and the velocity, but if you work around with him and the release is hard to pick up, those two things combined can really help you out a little bit here. But start human, not first choice. Outlighter, same thing, B tier. Lacks the hits per 9 and the BB per 9 is pretty awful. Velocity is whatever, but sinker cutter mix. Sometimes he's funky to hit, but in the lefty heavy meta where people are used to seeing Randy and Dallas and the likes of those two, he won't be getting it done, really. Now, Matthew Liberatore, C tier. Nah, just doesn't got it. Doesn't got it, man. Velocity ain't there. Kind of readable. Doesn't have it. Alek Manoah, C tier. He was probably an A tier pitcher when the game dropped, but it's just been too long. It's been too long. Not bad though. Pedro, D tier. Lacks the pitches and just is so easy to read, bro. His high diamond card might be okay, but as it stands, nah. Casey Mize, I still give B tier, man. Good pitch mix, throws hard, throws up top, and for how good he was when the game dropped, I gotta give him a little bit of B tier. He's low end B tier though. Stroman, D. Awful. Gets rocked. Honestly, he's F tier. Logan Webb, high on this card, B tier in front of Casey Mize. Got that card parallel 5, one of my first pitchers there. Love his pitch mix, love his control. Hits per nine's something to, you know, it leaves something to be desired, but it's late in the game, man. When he first dropped, it was just fine. I love the card. Kyle Wright, B tier, should have been better than he was. He should have been better than he was. He was just easily readable. It took way too long to pitch, and he could not dot a pitch to save his life. Not big on that card. I gotta go Mad Bum, B tier. Decent hits per 9, lacks a lot in velocity and K per 9, and does not throw hard, but he rakes, and he's got a funky release. So B tier for that. Corey Kluber, F tier. Awful hits per 9. Just not good. Not a good card. Tom Seaver got his windup, which helps him a little bit, but still, to me, Tom Seaver is B tier. Not very good, but if you really face a guy who's not particularly great as a hitter, and you work your confidence up with Tom Seaver, start dotting his pitches, his sinker is pretty hard, so not bad. Aaron Nola gets C tier because he lacks an out pitch. No slider. It hurts him, man. It hurts him. He needs more pitches. Martin Perez throws too soft. B tier. Good pitch mix. He should have gotten a better card when the program for him dropped, but does not throw hard enough. I absolutely lit his ass up when I saw him a few times, and I've seen him get lit up by everybody else too, so it doesn't throw hard enough. Dontrell Willis, C tier pitcher, B tier pitcher, but very close. B because he rakes and because he has good control, but man, he should have been much better. They could have given him a little bit higher hits per 9 or something. Very, very sad, disappointed with that card. D tier, Vita Blue, think he's buns. No out pitch, nothing to get anybody out, so he gets a little bit of a D tier from me. Oral Hershiser, I believe, is an A tier pitcher. If you work your way with him, he's a high hits per 9, little funky release. He lacks a little bit in velocity and control, surprisingly, so that's tough, but he's an A tier pitcher. I really do think he's not bad at all. Dallas Keuchel is an S tier pitcher. I think Dallas Keuchel is an S tier pitcher. I think he is, if you have him in your top 5, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, especially a parallel 5. Funky release, great pitch mix, super good control, and I think his sinker outside, for some reason, is one of the nastiest pitches I've seen. It's pretty crazy. By the way, guys, I'm trying out a new camera filter on. I don't know how it looks too weird. But I kind of like the way it looks, a little saturated. If it looks kind of strange, maybe I'll take it off. Anyways, Jackson Jobe, F tier, nothing. He's got nothing. Primary slider, I believe, but it's also super slow. Slow sliders stink. F tier pitcher. He's dookie. He gets F tier because he recently came out and he's that awful. David Price, I believe he gets A tier. Very similar Oral Hershiser. Should be better than Keuchel on paper because he has very similar pitch mix and he throws harder, but I think he has a higher hits per 9. A little less control, and for some reason he cannot dot for me, and he's kind of readable, right? Not very hard to read, so there's that. Carlos Carrasco, for me, gets a high B tier just because of the low hits per 9 and the lack of a windup, so he's super readable, but phenomenal control and break on his pitches. If you dot and you're facing someone who's not particularly great or picking him up, like, not reading him well, he'll get you. Clayton Kershaw, A tier pitcher, I really do believe. Funky, good pitch mix, lacks a lot in velocity and control department. His slider isn't as hard as it should be, but he still has that sinker. He's got some good movement on it. I like him. I give him a little bit of an edge. Cliff Lee, B tier. I think he's B tier. Does no hits per 9, throws too slow, got rocked. He's not nearly the impact pitcher he was last year. Hardly ever saw him. I used him, he got torched. So, and he's a foul ball machine. No K per 9. It's quite unfortunate. J.R. Richard, B tier. Throws really hard, good stats, a little bit lacking in the control department, but that's not the problem. He throws 4 identical pitches pretty much. 4-seam, 2-seam, cutter, and a slider, and they're all really hard. The slider's the slowest pitch, and it's like 92 miles per hour, so it's just, he needs a forkball. He threw a forkball, give him a forkball. Tariq Skubal, S tier pitcher in front of Keuchel. For me, I think his hits per 9 being high, yes, he's got a low K per 9, but so does Roy Halladay. Does not matter. Tariq's got great pitch mix, a harder sinker than a 4-seam, which is interesting. Very hard slider, and a changeup. I like him a lot, so I take him any day of the week. Jared Weaver, A tier pitcher for me, high end A tier. Funky release, very tall, good pitch mix. I wish his slider was a little bit faster, a little loopy, but his 4-seam and sinker can get up on you if you mix the pitches. They're actually a lot faster than his off speed. Brian Bayo, F tier, awful pitcher, just nothing. Very readable, nothing. Joe Random pitch mix. Matt Brash, I'm gonna go high A tier above Jared Weaver. I will do such things. I think Brash has a good pitch mix. He's a little funky, kind of short, which it doesn't help him out, but he throws hard. Not outlier, but throws hard. Good hits and K per 9. And his slider, I wish was a little faster, but he has a slurve, which I like a lot. Reed Detmers, A tier as well. I think behind Jared Weaver. Lack of a pitch mix in terms of he's got 5 pitches. Doesn't have anything that runs arm side. Nothing like a 2-seam or a sinker. That really hurts him because if you're a right-handed hitter, right, you just know what you're getting. It's going to be either inside on you or it's going to be straight or coming at you. Straight or coming at you. Nothing running away. Really, you take away that entire outside part of the plate or any kind of PCI movement in that nature if you know what you're doing versus Reed Detmers. Tommy G, I believe he's an S tier pitcher. The phenomenal control plus the velocity and the 5-pitch mix. He throws really hard compared to what people thought he would throw, and I know he lacks a little bit in the hits and K per 9, but he throws gas. So trust me, guys, he will do very well for you. A little readable, but I think he's so reliable. And for me, I got him parallel 5. I love Tommy G. Roy Halladay, first guy in the S+. He is in a league of his own. Him and Randy. Randy's still in a league of his own, but him and Roy are untouchable. There's nobody even close to those two in the game at the moment. Greg Maddux, I give him a B tier pitcher. Velocity is just too bad. And with the sinkers being nerfed this year up in the zone, you can't really throw them because they lose steam, they lose accuracy, and they seem to have like a penalty where they get crushed a lot more. It takes away a big weapon of his, man. He only has one pitch he can throw up in the zone. It's a cutter. So you just kind of you just live low, man. You just sit low. And if this game was allowing you to kind of throw curveballs in the dirt and changeups in the dirt without them getting hit anyways or fouled off, maybe he'd be good. But in this game with the PCI mashing, you can hit anything anywhere. Foul balls are a dime a dozen. So it's just unfortunate. He's a victim of the meta, or a victim of the game. So that's unfortunate for him. Bobby Miller, the killer, S, and he's in the front for me next to Scooble. 5-pitch mix. People say he's readable. I have had very good success with this card. Have to get the confidence up. Have to use the tunnel of the 4-seam and the splitter. Use his splitter. Don't hoe the slider. Everybody does that. Everybody sees slider and they hoe the hell out of it. Throw the splitter. Trust me. Get that confidence up with him early and he'll be a demon for you. Robbie Ray, B tier. Good attributes. Surprisingly a little bit funky. Lacks a lot in the control and the break department. Pitches are pretty flat. Walston, awful card. Just doesn't have any pitches. Mike Mussina, I'm gonna give him low A because of his pitch mix and the high K per 9 and great control. And he's got decent velocity, but his hits per 9 is so low. I really hope we get a 20 wins milestone. Baltimore Orioles Mussina. I believe he won 20 wins. He had 20 wins on the Orioles. I hope we just get a better Mike Mussina. Randy Johnson, obviously the best pitcher in the game. Still, him and Roy 1 and 2, no doubt, no question about it. Randy is just in a league of his own. Arguably, in my opinion, he's the best pitcher we've ever had in MLB the Show history, Diamond Dynasty specific, in terms of how dominant he's been, for how long he's been, and how much better he is. Live series, guys. Oh, actually, you know what? Garrett Cole, C tier, because he's got a cutter. Corbin Burns, I'm gonna assume he has inside edge, S tier. Great pitch mix, throws really hard, outlier sinker, with inside edges above 100 hits per 9. Definitely on the same par as these guys with inside edge. So for sure, definitely one of the better ones in the game. DeGrom, C tier, no outlier and no inside edge, plus just kind of flat stuff. He needs outlier to be effective. So C tier. Kevin Gausman, F. Nope. Joe Random pitch mix. Clayton Kershaw, he's got nothing this year, so F. Shohei Ohtani, S tier pitcher. I really do think he's S tier with inside edge. If you have him parallel 5, definitely S tier, arguably, and with the offense, you got to factor that in there. S tier pitcher. Rodon, F. Chris Sale, F. Scherzer, actually with inside edge, Scherzer's a B tier pitcher. He's very funky and he gets really good hits per 9. So definitely, if he has inside edge, I give him a B tier. I really do. I think he's not that bad at all. JV doesn't have the good pitches, so F. Edward Cabrera, I'm gonna give a B tier pitcher. If you can get his confidence up, he could do really well for you. I think the outlier sinker not being a thing anymore. Plus, it's actually kind of slow, and now he has a primary circle changeup. It's a little weird, but he still has that weird release, and he throws kind of hard. So I'll give him credit for that, for the weird windup and having decent pitch mix. So he'll take that. Next up, is this the Jameson Taillon? I'm actually pretty high on this card. I'm gonna give him high B tier. He's got extremely low K per 9, but a pretty high hits per 9 and weirdly good pitches. Like they break a ton and he throws hard. Sinker cutter, I'm gonna give him B tier. High B tier. Miles Mikolas, low B tier. Good pitch mix. Leaves a little bit to be desired when it comes to being readable and having a hits and K per 9 that is like but B tier, usable. Spencer Strider, no outlier. D tier, very readable. Freddie Peralta, C tier, because he has a sinker, but he has no slider, and his pitch breaks are atrocious, and so is velocity. So actually, no, I'm gonna give him D tier. Christy Mathewson, F tier. Never throw this card ever. He's disgusting and terrible. Yuri Perez. This is gonna surprise some people. B tier. He is ridiculously readable, and his slurve is actually pretty shitty. It kind of hangs and floats. And other than that, you just hit hard. Changeup's okay. His best off pitch is his changeup. The slurve is surprisingly poor. He needs the 5th pitch. I didn't think it was going to be that bad, but he'll dominate on lower difficulties if they can't hit velocity. But I still think that he's really surprising me how bad he is. Bob Feller, S tier. For the numbers, his control is awful. His par is too big. When you get his confidence up with those numbers and that 5-pitch mix with outlier fastball, he'll be a demon. And he actually can hit pretty well too. So I'll give him credit. If you do your thing with Bob Feller, he's easily S tier. I think he's on the same page as some of these guys up here. So Chris Sale, I'm gonna go low S tier. He needs a 5th pitch, and I really hate that he has a slow slider. It's not his fault, and it should be a good, but it's not in this game. Nobody with a slow slider in this game does well. It's just floating. It doesn't have any break. It's easy to read. Very funky release and throws hard. Primary sinker. Very good circle change. and good attributes. So for that, I'll give him S tier. Dinelson, B tier, surprisingly good. Hits per 9 and decent pitch mix. Could be a little bit better, but I like him. He's pretty fun. I have him on the program Poppy squad, so maybe I'm a little high on him. Jesus Luzardo is a D tier pitcher only because he has a hard sinker. His control is horrible. His break on his primary pitch is 33. He's a disgrace. Fernando Valenzuela, I haven't used him enough to really know, but I'm gonna tentatively put him in A, but like high A, because he's got really good attributes, but I'm not sure how it's going to play this year with only having 4 pitches and a screwball. I think he'd get rocked by anybody who's a good player or really good player. They're going to crush him. He's got nothing to get them out, but I think he might actually do some pretty good work, you know, average players. So I think for the majority of the player base, he might actually be pretty solid. And he's free. And last, Brandon Webb, surprisingly, have him at B instead of like C. Hits per 9 again is too low. I don't know why they hate this guy's guts, but he's got a good pitch mix. Surprisingly, throws really hard sinker for what I thought it would be, and a little funky. So you know what, man? You play at a low elevation park, he'll get the job done for you. So this is the final list, guys. Take a picture of it. You guys can't even see it. We're gonna go. You guys, wow, I really zoomed in too far on this, huh? Well, this is what we got. S plus, all the way down. The C tiers. We're going over it again. You really only, I'm sure most of you only really care about you guys only really care about like these 3 categories here, probably S plus, S, A, and B. But there are some C guys. You really shouldn't even be touching any of these C guys. But there are some guys in the B category that I can see people using because they like them, or they really want to do well with them, or they're a budget squad, or they just started, or whatever the reason is. So it's really these categories that matter. But you let me know, guys, if this is a tier list that helped you out, or if you enjoyed these videos. I appreciate y'all watching, man. Thanks. I'll catch you next time. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this series. I'd appreciate it. Peace.